give your boy, I don't want to call his name, but Stuart Young got a Kobo sweat. He just got a sweat to say he was a batsman, but he in all honesty, the PNM had to have known that they were going to lose elections.
Well, what is coming out here now is during the intermission, or well, we didn't say the intermission because the side has to bat. There's a lot of locker room talk, dressing room talk. The mics are on in the dressing room, and we're hearing things that normally we wouldn't be privy to because there's an internal election on one side. So you're hearing about doubts about how certain actions were taken and the process by which certain decisions were made, and quite questionable. But again, that's internal affairs of a particular side. So the public is having a treat. You know, elections tends to bring this out in any kind of elections, in any organization.
Correct.
You know, and let us examine some of the processes by which certain decisions are made. So we get a lot of locker room talk. You know, in the locker room you'll have a lot of...
I always say that PNM, to a large extent, they function best in opposition. So I'm looking at the bowling in this case.
Right.
They function best in opposition. It's like when they get in office, they should be known as a better opposition party. Because when they get in office, they forget the people. And the good thing about the baton side is that, to a large extent, say what you want to say about them, they command the favors of the general public, the small man. Because a lot of talk on the last occasion, a lot of things were said, but one of the things that was said was that, or let's say the thief, but all of us was living properly, and they didn't forget us. So, not in any way to say that thieving was a good thing, and I'm not in any way say they stole, because nobody ever went to jail, nobody ain't get prosecuted for it. But I'm saying that whatever they did it good enough to command the favors of the people in next rounds. People remember it. And they said, better we put Auntie Cam, because she, our captain, do things that, in terms of dealing with the people, in ways that the other party, the other team will not do. And I don't want to make it sound so much as maybe we should just talk, because people need to understand that we're here to really analyze the situation, analyze what is happening, the politics of the day, look at the geopolitics and how it is affecting Trinidad and Tobago and how it will affect us as a wider Caribbean, and also deal with some of the issues that people may have challenges dealing with from time to time in the news and other places.
Well, what you're referring to there, as, I mean, for me, might be a very appealing argument, but that would be the benefits of legacy. Our current situation, our current pitch analysis might be totally different.
Yes.
You know, you might have been a great batsman, a great opener, but in this innings, 2025, when we look at the pitch, when we look at the state of the economy, the state of labor, the state of different, what do we envisage? You know, how do we adjust our desires, our dreams? How do we adjust the promises? You know, when we go there, we go real hit boundary, we go real score run, plenty four, and we watch cricket, duck. It happens. It happens in this game. So one would be very cautious.
Very, very cautious.
To make a lot of predictions based on ego and past legacy. Great batsman. Let's walk.
Yeah.
Great batsman. And Trinidad...
And it all comes down to what kind of wicket
Correct.
that they have to bat on.
Correct.
It doesn't look like a good wicket.
Correct.
Right? So if you look at... a lot of nice things were said. You know, if before the game started, you know, a lot of nice things were said in the dressing room. A lot of nice things were said about what they will do.
Correct.
Right? For which any normal, I don't want to say educated, but any person living in Trinidad for a while and thinking will know that, hey, most of them things can happen. Most of them things really can't happen. And I'm not saying it that as if I was one of them and saying that. No, I'm saying that in reality, most of them things can happen. We just don't have, unless you're going to go run the country into the next level of debt and that kind of thing. Most of those things can happen. But what I could say is that a lot could happen, but good, steady, critical thinking, good management of our resources, and good out-of-the-box thinking, you could hit some six.
Correct. And a former batsman said, you know, in the political landscape, that politics has a morality of its own. You understand? And within that statement, you understand that when you're campaigning and you're trying to win, just like maybe when you're trying to woo someone, you say plenty things. You're good? As men, we know that, you know. We will go out every night.
You're trying to get a woman.
You're trying to get in.
Yeah,
you're trying to get in. You know, everybody, you know, it's easy to say be real.
Yeah.
But that your mind gets through that way.
So what do you think are some of the things that that to a large extent will kind of stymie or hinder the results that the UNC is looking at right now?
Well, definitely one big issue will be the promise made to the workers. The promise made to the workers. That has created a lot of expectations.
You are a school teacher also, right?
Yes.
you like your other money.
Yeah. Well, they take in front. Good. We will see how that pans out in the whole scheme of things. But the promise made to workers, based on the feeling of workers coming into the election, that is a hill.
I think Kamala will do whatever she has to do to make that promise a reality. I just feel so. I don't think UNC will want to die on that sword. And the unions wouldn't necessarily let her. It's a hard pill, but I think they will do what they think they have to do. And that's one of the promises I think they will keep. That is just my opinion.
Well, you see, keeping the promise is one. But just like in any test match, you got to sustain it. And that is the dialogue. That is the dialogue that the labor and unions must have with their workers.
Listen, you know, I think my analysis of this whole thing with labor and everything, well, I mean, we're talking to ourselves here because we are both labor and human resource and employment law professionals.
Yes.
But the thing is, we have a poorly organized system. Because what we should be looking, I am really grossly disappointed with trade unions. Because somehow they don't understand the nexus between productivity and more money.
That is true.
Right? You have to first understand that. Right? As you know, I work for both sides. I work for employers and I work for employees.
Yes.
Right? Or for trade unions.
Yes.
And for some reason, I think sometimes I feel that the trade union is still stuck in the 1940s, protest, make noise, rah, 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 when they should really be looking at the real thing. One of the first things that I think should be dealt with and should be addressed in society is the Industrial Relations Act and all laws that pertain to it, right? Because I mean, I don't want to sound like a broken record. Most of the people who are professionals in this area and know me well will know that I say this every day, right? The Industrial Relations Act needs an overhaul, and every single, including this one, every single minister of labor that have been put in office for the last 25 years came from the belly of the trade union movement in some way or fashion. And clearly, they aren't thinking.
Well, we have not seen the fruits of that alliance. Again, it exists in theory. There has been a lot of theory involved in it. There are a lot of theory that you were, to make an analogy, you were a former educator, so you would make a good minister of education. We think like that. So we made the same step and the same leap with labor, that you were a trade union individual, a trade union member, a trade union advocate.
And I'm not saying this to say that
advocate.
they're making bad decisions.
No.
But you just have to look at where the focus is. Listen, if you want to turn around Trinidad and Tobago, you have to first look at productivity. And put things in place. If you have running a private company, you would have rules. You would have human resource management policies that guides employment in the workplace. In the same way, you have a system, you should have rules to guide everything. You should know, you shouldn't be guessing as to what's going to happen if I do this. You should know what is going to happen. And that is something endemic in not just that is endemic in the political situation in Trinidad and Tobago with all them political parties.
And well, you see, my concern on that front, and if I were to wear that labor hat, would be that often enough that whole discussion of productivity has a class bias. You understand? It doesn't, the tool that we use to measure it, we don't measure everybody with it. Normally it's a lower class kind of a tool, just common worker. But as you know, because we involve in employment law, business and organizations have tiers of roles and responsibilities. But somehow the common worker, and this has been the grouse for years, the common worker, the worker below, the worker at the bottom of the barrel, they are the ones who are asked to sacrifice, bear the brunt. But they have supervisors, They have managers to those supervisors, And they have people on top of them. So how do we ensure that we measure everyone equitably? And it is not that the tool might be the same, the instrument may not be the same, but if we want to talk about productivity in the workplace, it must be from top down. And when you look at the labor as it exists even in other jurisdictions, and you hear this productivity discussion, nobody escapes. You could be manager, you could be CEO. Yeah. Once you're in a leadership position, you are just as accountable.
You see, one of the things that I admire with the American system is, well, they have what is called employment at will. They are employment at will system. So it means that they could, and I'm not in any way advocating that I don't want to get the public to get me wrong, that we are advocating that we have an employment at will, but we could still have the same employment at will, but termination for cause. They have an employment at will. If they find that you're not working out and you're not giving us the kind of productivity, we send you home. We tell you, well, go. We will hire somebody else. We don't necessarily have that kind of system, and to some extent, the capital is taken advantage of in a system like that.
Yeah.
Right? The employer. But at the same time, the employer, because we are a derivative of that kind of slavery, massa kind of plantation kind of system, they too, the employer too, see it fit sometimes to take advantage of the worker because they feel that they just don't have that kind of knowledge, or that so everything, even the legal system, sometimes work against the system in total, because they too, I was dealing with a situation today in South, and I was trying to hint to an employer about contracts, right? And while a lawyer, and you will know this too because you went to law school, we went to law school together, and we studied contract, or contract law.
Yes.
And somehow attorneys just come out of law school or not practicing in employment law, they have this very idea that if I put an unfair term in a contract, or I put something in a contract that could presumably trick an employee because he won that job, that it could stand up in our court. It can't. That's common law. I mean, it just wouldn't stand up. You can't trick an employee into signing something and then say, well, look, he signed it. And those are some of the things that I would say that employers use, which makes the system so dangerous for employers and employees, because they'll get licks in the court and then they'll have problems.
So again, that brings us back to where we started this discussion, our pitch analysis. What is the current state of labor and labor in its totality?
Correct.
Labor meaning employers and workers. Labor is not workers alone. Remember, employers spend their capital.
Yes.
They invest. They take risk. You know, to be honest, they open up the business.
Yes.
Whether you come to work today or tomorrow, they owe the bank. They also.
Exactly.
It's two sides to this equation. And what is the true state of labor? You know, often enough when we say labor in Trinidad, we look at the people on the street. Again, we come back to street. And the workers either protesting or but that's not the true totality of labor. There are much more deeper and intricate facets to labor that we are quite silent on. We have a silent issue on the immigrant labor. How have we treated with immigrant labor? Have we utilized them in a profitable way? We find ourselves sometimes, I listen to some very hypocritical discussions because we form a very big part, we Trinidadians, of immigrant labor in New York, in other parts of the world.
Yes.
You know, and
but all of America is made up of immigrants.
Correct.
So except you're one of them
yes.
American Indian.
So survival.
Or African, because
correct.
African was actually there before.
Correct.
If you understand the history.
What is the real state of the pitch? You know, before all these big predictions are made about what is going to happen, and it's a hard task. I don't know why people envy people in leadership and politics.
And rain might fall. Look what's happening in Israel.
Correct.
Look what's happening in Russia, in Ukraine.
Correct.
All
Correct.
those things. And you know, I have said that if at all we have a world war is going to erupt, it will be the Middle East. It's not Ukraine. Ukraine is a proxy war. What's going on in the Middle East too will be a proxy war also at the end of the day, because Israel, in my opinion, is grossly unfair, and they always wanted to attack. They first tried to weaken Iran by destroying Hezbollah, destroying Hamas, and destroying the people on the West Bank and that kind of thing, taking the lands, and now they are now trying to attack Iran, or they're attacking Iran. I think oil went up to, the last thing I checked was about $73 a barrel.
Yes.
And that will have serious implications for Trinidad and Tobago. I mean, we might make some money from the little 50,000 barrels that we producing every day or whatever. But in terms of gas, this is one time when our refinery would have made a lot of sense for us.
Correct.
And I mean, that should be part of our March day analysis, because that, to a large extent, if you take into consideration the geopolitics and how it's going to affect the pitch.
Yes, and the pitch is always affected by other factors, exogenous factors that we can't control. You know, as you say, rain is upon us. All of a sudden, those runs that you thought you'd get, we have to use Duckworth Lewis.
Exactly.
And when you look at the run rate, we're behind time.
We're behind time.
There will always be shocks. There will always be things that we seem not to pay attention to because they are happening far abroad. But if you understand the international political economy and the connectedness of markets and produce and how that affects labor and price.
The Strait of Hormuz, 25% of shipping, global shipping, and passes through there.
Yes,
and ships are going to be burning there.
And when goods can't move, what that does for prices and world prices, etc. So
that would be a problem.
it is very important, as we this is our thesis today for that we examine this pitch very carefully before we make too much illustrious predictions about what is going to happen. So it's okay to have an idea. It's okay to say, well, I would like 10%. And it's okay to want 10%.
I just want to let the listening public know also that they could call in the station. And what's the number? I think the number, these are the numbers here?
Yes, I believe so.
Right. So they could call in the station, and we will also hear what your point is and try to assist in analyzing the politics.
Yes, the true state of the country at the moment. As we're moving forward, things are happening with the new government, and little by little things are, some of us are agitated. We want things a little faster. The Prime Minister, she has called for patience and understanding,
I think
which is reasonable.
Yeah. So somebody was saying, well, how come then, probably about 2/3 of the state isn't put in place as yet, boards and that kind of thing. Yeah. And somebody was saying, I said, listen, you don't know what them people meet inside there. They have to address certain things. That boards who even want to resign.
Yeah.
They have a lot of things to address, and a lot of those things could have employment relations issues also. So they have to address those things before they move to the next level, before they populate the boards and before they put certain things in place.
Correct, and it will have to be very prudent leadership.
Yeah.
And sometimes we're prone to make very hasty decisions, and this is not the time for that.
Yeah.
And that's a mentality we have to
this
strike
one of
out.
the things I was saying too. I think if PNM at all is smart, now my friend Penelope Beckles, a woman that I know from her inception in politics, she and I was in politics together in Arima. I think if I was Penny, I would have been a little more benevolent to government at this time. One of the reasons is because what you want to do, you want to show the people of Trinidad and Tobago that you're thinking. You know what the state of the economy is here. Be a nationalist. Understand that we are in this together. Although your party to some extent created a lot of the problems that we're going to be facing now, try to, instead of trying to beat down things, support some things. Try to bring the country on an even keel. Because in real, you see what's going on with America? Both the Democrats and the Republicans, they are together in supporting Israel. I call them all criminals. But yeah, so it's a criminal entity across there, but they wouldn't call themselves that. They would call themselves the keepers of democracy.
Yes.
And that kind of thing, but killing people, right?
Well, to maintain
causing war to prevent war, right?
To maintain any democracy, as the task we have here locally, there's some hard decisions that have to be made. And this is a time for that pitch analysis. This is a time to watch to see if it have a lot of nut grass, if it have a lot of cracks in the pitch. Now, the first innings was the first innings. And the first innings, the pitch would have deteriorated. They roll it, they put things on it to try but it doesn't play the same all the time. And if it had a little dew, the ball might be harder to grip. The ball inside might bowl some wide, or people might get hit in the head. Good. Unfortunately, or in the ribs. Good. We wouldn't say it might be for spite or so, but we really have to, before we this innings, before we make all these predictions about, it's we time now and all these different nice things that come on the backs of victory, and I understand that, and maybe relief. We really have to be careful on this pitch. We have to be careful on this pitch. Everything about Trinidad society tells you that, because we still have crime to deal with.
Mm-hmm. And that ain't going away, just.
And that is not an elections thing.
We run the risk of that escalating even further.
Correct. Unabated.
Because you can't put water in a bottle. When the bottle full, and it's no water, no way to go. Air thinking it's going to run out.
Correct.
Going and run out.
Correct.
So don't think that you can just solve crime by saying we have the idea to solve crime. We have to do certain very important things. But I think we have a caller. Let me take this call. Yeah, good afternoon, caller. You on the show?
Afternoon, caller. Can I call you? Afternoon, sir. Yeah, I heard it talking about Israel, right? And if you check Israel in the map, Israel is just a dot in the Middle East, right? There are 52 Arab nations, and there are I think it's 22 Muslim nations in the Middle East, and they all against Israel. Israel is battling by themselves, and the Bible talks about Israel, right? Israel is God's chosen people, and that is why you see all those nations are against them, and you will say that they are taking their lands, but they have all the lands, not Israel. They taking Israel land, and the Bible talk about the last days that all those lands that were taken, Israel will take it back again, and it talk about in the last days.
We just mentioned Israel as part of the issues that could affect us and what's going on in Israel and all
they are
people.
not murderers. That is the Bible. The Bible must be fulfilled.
They are murderers, in my opinion. They're killing a lot of people. They're killing all those people. They're killing. So, what makes those people in Gaza and Iran and Lebanon and all those places where they're killing people? What makes them different or less equal than Americans or white people? What makes them less equal? They are murderers, in my opinion. That's my opinion, right? And this thing you're talking about the Bible, you need to go back to that, because, I mean, I don't want to mention too much about my views on that, but my opinion is what Netanyahu is doing, he's a murderer. Yeah? So, Bernardo?
Well, we'd want our callers. I mean, we segue into many different aspects of politics, labor, life in Trinidad. But we would want our callers to help us with the pitch analysis today.
Yeah.
This is match day. There's a side in Tabat. Runs on the board already. Runs on the board. We have a side with mixed experience. We have some neophytes, as they call them. Good. But some new people could surprise you, eh? Some new people, and that's how talent is born sometimes. But you might end up getting hit in the head too. Good. Inexperience might show. Are we patient with the inexperience? Is the public going to understand? Well, they knew. We don't understand that, after 2 weeks.
Correct.
We don't feel they knew at all.
Correct.
How fair is that in terms of governance?
But some of them was batting before, so.
Correct. So we would want our listeners to help us with that pitch analysis. What do you see in Trinidad now? What do you see?
You're seeing dew on the pitch, you're seeing dew on the outfield.
Or you seeing 500 runs, everything nice, everything honky-dory. Everybody will get what they had to get, and we will all live in love and harmony. Crime will stop tomorrow. What do you see? How do you see the pitch that this government, I can't say incoming because they're here, that they have to play on? We don't want to spend too much time going back to what was. They always say runs on the board.
For the first part, sometimes the players have to understand also their role.
Correct.
So, if you do understand your role, it means you wouldn't necessarily understand how to deal with some situations when it come about. In
Correct.
fact, you will think that what you might think your role is what you might think your role is not what it should be. So, for instance, you had to understand the role of Parliament and you had to understand the role of the state.
Correct.
And you are not necessarily, you don't necessarily have that kind of control over the state.
You don't have as much power as you think you do.
Exactly. So, you know, the people who really run in the country is the people who have been running it all the time, which is the state.
Correct.
And government come, government go, the state running it. So you have to understand that.
And how you define the state, therefore, is important.
How you define the state.
You know, and the promises that were made, you know, we sometimes it's hard to differentiate
So some of us front
the political aspect to the actual governance aspect. You understand? Because politics have administration. There's administrative policies in place that supersede. You know, sometimes they change it, you know, but these things, as you rightly say, keep running. They keep running, they keep running. Money doesn't suddenly appear.
Exactly.
Good. And therefore, those things are important before you make predictions. Before you feel that this is a bound to win match, before you place your bets, analyze the pitch. And as you rightly said, look at the players. Look at the team.
Are the players configured to win? That's what we want to hear from you. We will analyze it. Right? You have some good people like my good friend Philip who said a lot. A lot of people are waiting and looking on to see how he bat.
Correct.
Roger Alexander, the same. Right? People are looking to see how them guys bat.
They're in the wicket now.
They're in the wicket.
Correct.
So, you know, you have some experienced guys, some Gavaskas and some Laras and things inside there too.
Correct.
But the experience had to coach and mentor those that are not so experienced. And I think now, as an expert in human resource management and probably strategic management and that kind of thing, I think one of the first things the government should do, I don't know if they did it, is to probably do some kind of retreat, which would probably engender some kind of training for these people, some kind of coming together in terms of everybody singing in unison, saying the same thing. I'm still seeing some outliers, you know, people doing things by themselves, trying to do things by themselves. But the team should be working together. They should be singing synergistically together. And the only way you could do that is if you have some kind of plan through a retreat with a common vision, a common goal, and this is what we're doing, this is what we wouldn't say, this is what we would say, this is how we will operate. Now I know Auntie Cams came in with her broad agenda. She spoke a lot about the things that she want to do for the people and that kind of thing. I'm seeing some minor missteps and things, but I'm not getting the impression that everybody's singing together.
Well, one thing that goes with your appeal to the streets. This is Street 91.9. The street is very important. And a lot of what was promised was very savory and appealing to the streets. Now that we are here, how do you get them on board? How do you deliver? Because as you and I know, and as the bowling team know, it's a double-edged sword. It's those spectators came to see performance.
Mm-hmm. And they'll start to get bored as soon as they see runs.
Exactly. Expectations run high.
As soon as they start not seeing runs,
correct.
Wicket falling.
Correct.
They start walking on the stadium, and
correct.
that's a problem.
Correct.
That's a problem.
And
but
we know, I mean, when you watch cricket worldwide, just to look at the sport, I mean, we don't love sport, basically. When you watch sport played in places like India and Pakistan, England, especially what they like and familiar, you know, you really see
Let me take this call. Alright, so we missed that call there. You can call back, caller. But yeah, so
you have to have a serious analysis, and we taking this whole Third Empire thing very slow. This is a slow. There is not T20 or T10. You know, this is a different type of match where we go, we take it slow, ball by ball, analysis by analysis. We're taking it slow. Before we make all these illustrious predictions and plan strategy, let's analyze the pitch. What is the current state of Trinidad and Tobago? Sector by sector.
correct. And we will take a few minutes for advertisement now, so let's break shortly to take some ads.
A lovely day for cricket, blue skies and gentle breeze. The Indians are waiting now to play the West Indies. A signal from the umpire, the match is going to start. The cricketers come on the field.
You've got bills to pay, and so do we. Let's go pay some bills on the street 919 FM.
Hikaro, I am Alatumishe Ifabamishe Aganki, better known as MC Duke. And
every Monday between the hours of 9 p.m. to midnight,
I host a show called Orisha, The Way of Life, right here on the Shit 919 FM, where I have guests passing through from the Orisha Ifa Baptist diaspora to educate, edify, and inform you, the listening public, about Orisha Ifa practices. So remember to tune in
every Monday between the hours of 9 p.m. to midnight
for Orisha, The Way of Life.
This summer, give your child skills of a lifetime with several boot camp. Children between the ages of 5 to 17 come enjoy Children Iron Chef competition. Your child will learn to prepare healthy breakfast, lunch, dinner, CPR, first aid, and conflict management. With field trip, your child will be given free apron and certification upon completion. Call 492-7397 or 336-4935. Institute of Health and Fitness Company Limited, located at number 79 St. Vincent Street, Tunapuna.
For the month of June, registration will only be $50 to book your space, and you can pay the tuition fee before the start of camp.
TNT, get ready, get hungry, and get to the hut because it's lunchtime! From pizzas to pastas, breadsticks to cinnamon rolls, Pizza Hut's all-you-can-eat lunch buffet is all yours for only $55. Sundays to Thursdays, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. and extended to 4 p.m. on Sundays. Check socials for info on selected locations nationwide and take your hunger to the hut. Pizza Hut, now that's delivering.
Don't miss June savings at Furniture Plus. Get up to 50% off shop appliances, furniture, electronics, mattresses, and more. Buy now, pay later with affordable hire purchase plans. Plus, earn Caribbean Airlines. Travel miles with your purchase. Visit any Furniture Plus stores or shop online.
Blessings in the wonderful name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. You are invited to listen to the Final Hour broadcast heard every Monday from 12 midnight to 5 a.m. in the morning on The Street 919 FM radio. Hear my mom, Pastor Helen Garcia, and myself, Pastor Valentine Garcia Jr., preach the Word of God to the elderly, youth, and children. We can be contacted at 629-0113 or 623-8444. The church is located at 26 Prince Street in Port of Spain. We look forward to you joining us. God bless you.
As my life I lay it on the altar, as my life.
This is Roger Boynes. I am contesting for the position of General Secretary for the People's National Movement in the upcoming internal elections scheduled for June 22nd, 2025. I am a former Member of Parliament and Minister of Sport and Youth Affairs. I bring to the office of General Secretary experience, dedication to hard work, a commitment and respect for the membership who are the very backbone and foundation of this party. I'm prepared to focus on rebuilding this party with the help of all. Vote for Roger Boynes as General Secretary. Vote for a stronger PNM. Vote for a stronger nation.
June 22nd, PNM internal elections. Vote for the people's champions. The only real change.
Vote for them. Vote for the people's champion. Vote for them. For the only real change. Vote for them. Vote for the people's champion. Vote for them. For the only real change.
June 22nd, PNM internal elections. Vote for the people's champions. The only real change.
Vote for them. Vote for the people's champion. Vote for them. For the only real change.
22nd of June, PNM internal elections. Vote for the people's champions. The only real change.
Tune in to The Street 919 FM every Friday from 9:15 a.m. to 9:45 a.m. with Kingdom Health Services, situated at number 125 to 186 Eastern Main Road in Tunapuna. For the program, Health and Healing, merging the old with the new, with Mr. Brent Diet. For more information, call 318-7471 or 484-0141 or 360-4100. It's all about Kingdom Health Services on The Street 919 FM.
Join the winning team with Pastor Alkaline John
every Tuesday from 11:05 a.m. to 12 noon and every Thursday night from 8 to 9 p.m.
live on The Street 919 FM as he talks about Lviv, the power of 5 fruits, one of the most powerful antioxidant supplements on the market today. The 5 superfruits in Lviv are mangosteen, acai, pomegranate, goji, and nuni. These fruits have a positive and profound impact on human health performance and disease. Join him as he gives live testimonials of the Lviv healing powers. To get more information, you can contact Pastor Alkaline John at 516-286-7079 or you can visit his webpage at www.alkalinejohn.com. Remember,
every Tuesday from 11:05 a.m. to 12 noon and every Thursday night from 8 to 9 p.m.
live on The Street 919 FM.
Whoever said Messi was a bad thing totally missed the point. Take that hit song everyone loves now. It probably started like this. Baby, calm down. That's why KFC is celebrating the messy moments with our Messy Cruncher and Messy Zinger sandwiches for only $34.95. Imagine a crunchy, golden brown, flavorful chicken sandwich sauced to perfection with our signature sweet, spicy, tangy sauces. Oh boy. So crunch into the deliciously messy moments today. Check socials for details. KFC, it's finger-licking good.
Share the live. Share the live. The Street 919 FM on Facebook and Instagram. Share the live. Iowa George on Instagram. Share the live. Iowa TV and Street TV on YouTube. Share the live. The Street 919 FM.
Yeah. We are back. And we are here examining the pitch.
Correct.
And therefore, we are looking at what are the current realities of Trinidad and Tobago and how this new administration or this new team is expected to bat. Right? So we were just looking at the infield and to some extent the outfield. We realized there are some moisture on the outfield.
Correct.
And we are now considering how the team should bat. What kind of play should be made to move Trinidad and Tobago to the next level and win under this new team that is in the wicket.
I know we said we had a chit chat during the break and we talked about exploring agriculture.
Yes.
But let us switch it a bit. Let's get into some education. What is the current state of education? If we judge it by what we see on Instagram and Facebook, where are we? What do we want out of an education system?
Well, that's a question that undoubtedly not the professors but the planners, the people who plan in the ministry need to start to ask themselves, because certainly what they are doing isn't working. Our education system, and I don't want to sound like a broken record, I say this all the time to everybody I meet, our education system is just configured wrong. It is configured wrong. If you look at first world systems like, say, South Korea, Singapore, the Scandinavian countries, you will know that between 1 and 7, trying to be even, they have no homework, and they are among even China, they are among the most progressive thinkers in the world. And there's a reason. There's a reason. If you develop the motor skills, if you develop the respect, if you develop all those things at a young age, you'll have no... So today you have people graduating with masters and they can't critically think. You have people walking around with masters like we're sharing it out freely in Trinidad and Tobago. And these people went to school, they read a book, they regurgitate, they pass an exam and they come out beating the chest, I want a job. When really and truly, they should be looking to do something to create jobs. Right? Because a master's, our MBA, is supposed to represent something at the pinnacle of your education status. And you have that. But you're intellectually bankrupt. You can't critically think. You can't tell us what to do to move to the next level. We probably had the most masters per capita in Trinidad and Tobago.
Well, you made a statement there, and within your statement is the assumption that the goals of the Scandinavian countries and the goals of Trinidad are the same. So your statement assumes that we both want to create an egalitarian society. Your statement assumes that we both want productivity and we want all this achievement. But you know, in our profession, we deal a lot with evidence. I don't see a lot of evidence of that. Unfortunately, I don't see a lot of evidence of merit base. And before I go any further,
you are a school teacher, so I might be talking. You are also a school teacher, so I might be talking about you too.
So I was about to say, before I go any further, it will be remiss of me not to say good evening to all the hardworking teachers in Trinidad and Tobago who are out on the front line. You just have to look at a clip on Facebook and see that some teachers now have to learn jiu-jitsu and judo and self-defense and rugby tackles and how to disarm a knife or a gun. And you have to counsel.
And that's unfortunate. Let me tell you why that's unfortunate. Again, I see all the time that our education system is configured. We wrong side in this country, clearly, right? So I remember when I was recruited to do a master's and MBA at Lockjack, and they did a VAC. That is a test. It is an assessment of how you learn to some extent, right? And if we use those kind of methods from the time someone reaches 7 or 8 and is ready to start to go to primary school and that kind of thing, then we would understand how people, we would not put a monkey, a horse, and a snake in the same classroom, right? They will all, because we learn sometimes differently, and therefore it is difficult to see, to hear the government say that the reason why they wouldn't do that is because they don't have the resources to do it, and they haven't understood, or teachers haven't done. Well, then train teachers, train people to first segmentalize students on how to learn and teach them, get the right kind of training so that their imagination can be captured in the same way. What is your take on that?
Well, you see, I agree with you, but I also contend that, remember, greatness is born out of a certain environment and atmosphere. Sometimes we have people who achieve despite the conditions, but that doesn't do good for repetition, and that doesn't do good for systematic achievement, right? There is no guess why Harvard is Harvard and Yale is Yale, apart from the history. If you have ever toured any of these places, you would see greatness and you see systems. Are we creating these systems locally in terms of education to repeatedly assure that the average child learns and gets by? If you're good, you're good. We have those. If you're weak, you're weak.
And that's what I'm talking about, because some people may come in the system with certain shortcomings. Some people may come in the system with certain social issues that you can't fix in school in that way.
Correct.
Right? Some people may come in the system with certain developmental or learning problems. And if you can capture that from early, you will be able to deal with those things in a particular way to bring everybody up to speed. So everybody can't be writing the same exams. We shouldn't even be writing exams. I don't know if I should say that. Yeah. But you know, some of the greatest people, greatest thinkers, I don't know what university they went in, but they could really think.
I remember Dr. Job telling me once while trying to sell me a book, he was saying, you know, you have to be careful of bright people, you know. Bright people cause all the problems in the world. These people, these very qualified people come up with very strange things. And we see the same thing to make the analogy in our politics. You know, it's not people who with 3 and 4 O levels, you know. And sometimes we feel these people are the problem in society, you know. We have a bias towards these people, and they're not educated and not educated. What do the educated people do?
What's education?
Well, that's what I'm saying. What do the qualified people do? You think the qualified people do any better? Yes, they're qualified, but...
If you look at the 1% in the world, I don't think that much education, you know. I can tell you stories. A lot of them. When slavery was abolished and they found education to make it another containing mechanism, they didn't take that. They saw that as just for what it is.
And you see there's also the misnomer.
So the guy, I just want to say one more thing. So the guy who was just talking about the Israelites and what the Bible says and that kind of thing, I understand why he's saying that, because he's still trapped in a different kind of reality. Right? You can't be killing people in this time for nothing and thinking that you are God's people. Because I don't think, if God is about that to me, I really don't want to be part of that.
You see, sometimes we can, because of our history too, we get carried away with this very colonial and very passive view of education.
I see now call here.
Okay, let's see what the caller has to say.
Hi, pleasant good afternoon. I'm not hearing you clearly. Are you hearing me? I'm not hearing you clearly, brother. But I'll give my contribution. First of all, I appreciate the tone of your discussion and the high level of thought that you guys are putting into the discussion. I like the idea how you parallel our present situation in Trinidad with a game of cricket. And specifically, you're looking at the labor situation as a highlight in the whole discussion. But going down the road that you're going, you know, there's one thing to stop the game of cricket, and that is rain. And as we have it, unless we have our head there in the sun, the clouds of war are gathering all over the world right now. And it seems inevitable that we would be in a state of, you know, you could border it and Armageddon is made. So to me, one of the things we should be doing, and you guys mentioned that you were talking about it in the break, the agriculture, we have to learn to feed ourselves. Because until we learn to feed ourselves, we remain enslaved to whoever feeding us. Once them containers of food can come in, we'll be scrambling at each other too. So what I think the government should be doing is putting some fellows who think ahead and think about these situations that are going on now. You could call it a Department of War if you want. We're going to fight with nobody, you know. We're not built to fight. We're thinkers and men of action. So we should be thinking about how we're going to feed our nation should this calamity happen. And to the other call a little while ago talking about Israel, the people of God, I wanted to know the Bible is about black people. Now Israel, they're talking about in the Bible is black people. Okay? You mustn't get tired with that and the synagogue has said that. My brother should go back and study it a little more there. And I hope you receive my contribution because I'm not sure if I'm coming through. Have a blessed day, brother.
You came through loud and clear, my brother, and you made a lot of sense. And it is something that we have been seeing. In fact, I have said it a couple times before, and that is, if you cannot feed yourself, then you will suffer when the elephants are fighting. So one of the things that we need to do in Trinidad and Tobago very soon is to focus a lot. In fact, our budget, the biggest chunk of our budget should be agriculture going forward. And there are simple ways. We have a lot of land space. We have a lot of things that we could do. We don't even need land space. You could plant now. You could do agriculture and buildings.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of things you can do.
Yes.
But we need to be able to feed ourselves. And one thing I would say also is that what are the things? I mean, we need to SWOT analysis, do a SWOT analysis, find out what are the things that are of great impediment to Trinidad and Tobago. So the food that we eat, to a large extent, we paying a lot of money, we spend a lot of our foreign reserves on it, but they're killing us. It's causing a lot of problems in the hospital. Cancer, blood pressure, all that kind of thing. By the way, I have a girlfriend that is in the hospital right now with a stroke. The thing is, the foods that we're eating, and the government could fix that. The amount of excess amount of sugar and sodium and that kind of thing.
Fix that?
Yes, I mean, if you make a soft drink, $50 for a soft drink, it will fix it. Because if you make a soft drink $50 and take $45 from that from the man who manufactured it and put it back in the healthcare sector, that will be a great that will help it a lot. And I'm saying, think outside the box.
Well, part of the solutions to some of these things is first an honest analysis of why things are the way they are. And the food import bill is not what it is by any measure by mistake, because government by government we always talk about agriculture.
Mm-hmm.
But
well, what are they doing?
We have large distribution companies, large import and distribution, food import and distribution
for which
companies.
you make a lot of taxes from, but
and that's big business.
Big business.
Then we'll have to touch, and when we do get into the nuts and bolts of these issues.
Let's take this call. I'm seeing someone trying to
okay,
call.
let's digress. No problem.
Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Yes, now I hear you.
Yes.
Hear me?
Yes, we are hearing you.
All right, okay. Good afternoon at the same time, and good afternoon, Trinidad and Tobago. Well, the brother here is President Trinidad and Tobago Villager. First time I hear you yes, because I ready to go down the road, and all of a sudden, just so I hear this program start, so I jump on. And all of a sudden, I hear all you talking about the Third Empire. I said, go with that one, boy. The Third Empire. I said, all right, so let me listen. So I hear all you start to talk about, then we have one side and the next side, which let me talk it plain because I hear all you talking politics plain, PNM and UNC. And then the wicket. Who in the wicket, who bowling. And the Third Empire now. In this country where I notice is the Third Empire is the pavilion. But the pavilion in the politics really not an empire. They watching the game. So then really when you say a Third Empire, who really is the Third Empire in the parliament? Boys, they are going because all they're interfering with me, as soon as I hear that topic, I don't understand how they're going with something that in the air already, and I want to know what you're really talking about. But if you have two fighters in the ring, normally in this world, when we have two fighters in the ring, it have a referee. Well, I think the referee and the umpires come like one name where the cricket is concerned and the boxing match in the ring is concerned. So the umpire, who is that in the parliament? But that's the first answer all you started to talk, and I hear you an answer me like all you hearing me what? Are you hearing me?
We hear you, caller. You talk, you make a contribution.
Well, I think maybe having a program and I asking a question, I think I need an answer because I mean the program ain't gonna go good if it's a one-side thing. I only see them listening, and when I come now I can't get no answer from a question. So it come like I waste of time I listening because the communication ain't happening.
No, well, we are the Third Empires.
Oh, you are the Stadium Empires.
Yes.
Oh, but that is basically for this program. So in that sense now, you have all the privilege to talk. So I go stay on the pavilion then. It means to the point that I go stay on the pavilion. So it don't make no sense
we will give the decision and you will say whether you feel the Empire thief or the Empire didn't thief or the Empire was a good call, that kind of thing. Right?
All right, well, right now, if always the Empire continue Empire in the match, I will go back in the pavilion.
All right, caller. Thanks for calling.
In that case now, all I go have to do on this program, I don't know if I will write here, all I will do is put on my radio and listen, and if I find the game ain't going, I turn off my radio and go down the road.
You could do that too.
Yeah, have a nice day, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, so Ronaldo, as I was saying, we were talking about food and being able to feed ourselves. With what is common, and I heard Jeffrey Sachs talk about it, I heard a lot of people talk about it. With what is common, we better know what we're doing. You're on the pitch now, bat. And what people have been asking is to reduce certain things and make life better for Trinidad and Tobago, or Trinidadians and Tobagonians.
Well, jumping off from where the caller left off, right? I mean, if I did understand what the caller was alluding to, he was trying to say that, in Parliament, there's no third umpire because you have opposition, you have government, and it doesn't seem to have a regulator in the Parliament itself that, interferes with the process. There's credit to that argument if you're looking at it from a surface point of view, because we know that there are always things that happen behind the scenes that affects the politics and affects what goes on in Parliament. The goal will be to find out what those things are and strengthen them. They don't just go to Parliament just so. Legislation is passed to solve an issue, to provide a solution around some issue in society.
To fix a mischief.
To fix a mischief. Good. So it is not that hopeless, even though it's not that straightforward. And in terms of the program here, that we have the third umpire, we are going to take the public, the listening audience, through the privilege of analysis. And they get to join in with us as well.
Exactly.
They can join in with us because we are not know-it-alls in any regard.
We're not going to try to overtalk here.
Not at all.
We want to hear what
So the third umpire is all-inclusive on this Street 91.9 FM.
Yes.
The third umpire includes you, the members of the public, the listening public. You might have a view. Some of you were witnesses to certain things you could tell us about what you saw.
You could tell us, you see the 3 bales went up in the air and
correct.
It come back down right down on it.
Yes, you did see, you can help us analyze. So we don't want people to feel left out in that, we just talk. We guide the conversation. But the third umpire concept allows everyone to have an input.
Correct.
And that is really what we want in this program. Right. We don't want aimless discussion, but we want everyone to have an input.
Correct.
And right now we're doing the pitch review. Good. We're trying to see what kind of wicket is this. There's a side into bat. We will use our metaphors as we see fit, because we don't want, people to get carried away. Either way. And
you're free to call us also on 342-0081, 466-5391, and 771-1791. Call us. Let's hear your views. Let's help us analyze the decisions that are before us.
And we have had a lot of discussion, extensive discussion in budgets gone by about agriculture and food, and the silent things in those discussions, the elephants in the room, is land. And when you talk about land, you talk about land ownership. When you talk about land ownership, you're talking about title to property and agricultural property. And acres,
That's how you get funding for
correct
for agriculture projects
and the farmers. You see them rainy season, sometimes complaining about the infrastructure, and the access to some of the things year in, year out. They don't have a year when we have a bad rain and you don't see farmers complaining.
We are so one-sided, but I mean, it's amazing, My partner Philip used to always be saying that. He said, a country with water rain falling half the year, boy, and no way we still crying for water in dry season.
Yeah, January to
and in wet season we crying for water too. Water
one time we don't have enough water, and next time we have too much.
No, well, we have too much, but we can't get it. It's still like coming with pipe because that's silt in the river and it causing silt in the reservoir and all kind of madness. But the thing is, with all the money that Trinidad and Tobago once had, I think the resources were poorly utilized to a large extent. Hence the reason why we have the problems today. And so much so that Jamaica and Guyana and these places could now say, well, it's our time now. We could refine and send it to you. The next one, we have all the oil in the world.
We have to ask ourselves honestly how easy it is for the average youth, for the average person in Trinidad and Tobago, now let's be honest, to become a farmer, to acquire the land, to get the loans, to get the info. How easy it is. You know, it's nice to say, let's feed ourselves. But can the average person, the average child involved in agri-science in school, when he come out of school, he said, I want to plant. How easy it is for that child or that an adult, that young person, that entrepreneur, to get into this. Are our systems allowing and facilitating that transition?
I knew that there was a system, there was a program. I vaguely heard about it because I wasn't paid administration, but I knew that there was a program where they were training young people, giving them, I think it's 2 acres of land after the training, and giving them the necessary facilities to farm. I don't know what happened. I think that would have happened sometime in the 70s also.
Yeah.
Right? People take them land, most of those land abandoned in Trin City and up in Gandhi, El Reposo and all them kind of places. And people still suffering. So the abundance of water, the food is thirsty. It goes into that whole Bob Marley narrative. The thing is, people need to, can we just take land and build on it? What do people have to do? Is it that you need to have a good business plan and go to the government or go to somebody?
Is it easy to get an agricultural loan?
I don't know.
Is it our systems in place? Because again, some of these things may, in fact, and have maybe existed in theory.
Because if people are really thinking, I think that is the way to go, you know. Because that is the one common denominator for survival, you know.
But again,
food, everybody needs to eat.
My caution to you, comrade, is that when you analyze the state of affairs, there must be a reason. We know food is the way to go. We know we have to feed ourselves. We know the food import bill is what it is. Why has things not changed? Is that people lazy? Is it that people don't want to plant?
Well, it have a lot, in my opinion, again, it have a lot to do with the whole bureaucracy.
Okay, now we're being honest.
Yeah, the whole bureaucracy of the state and the parliament and government and everything and the adversarial nature of the politics in Trinidad and Tobago. Things just not happening the way it should be happening. So people get a whole land all over the place, and next thing you see apartment going up because people need to live too.
Correct.
So next thing you see apartment going up, people building house on it.
Yes.
And renting it out. That's the kind of problems we have in Trinidad and Tobago. But what will solve, the one thing that will solve that is proper laws, proper regulation, proper oversight and supervision.
And you use one word, planning.
If you give a man planning.
Yes.
So if you give a man land to plant agriculture, it must be agriculture. And if you're not planting agriculture in it, you'll lose it. You're not using it again, you'll lose it. Right?
Yeah.
So get somebody else who want to plant something, because at the end of the day, you must have some kind of plan that if you give out 1,000 acres of land, you should be able to get 20,000 or 1,000,000 pounds or kilograms or whatever, fruits or whatever, so that you'll have enough to feed the nation. You'll bring down the price of inflation, you'll bring down the price of food, inflation, and you'll be able to export some to some of the countries that don't have what it have. And listen, let me tell you something. I am a great fan of YouTube, and looking at different kind of machinery on Amazon, and looking at what's going on in China and Singapore and Saudi Arabia and all them things every day, every night. Sometimes I feel I don't even sleep enough because I'm always looking at them things. And the thing is, it have a machine to do everything. Anything you could think about, it have a machine to do it. And it's really expensive. China giving away them thing now. Do we have a consulate in those places? Are we paying much attention to Africa? Africa is going to be one of the fastest growing nations in the world, probably just like China. Soon, China will be dethroned by India and Africa just now. What are we doing as a government, both the PNM and the UNC, to capitalize on that? And monetize that capitalization to make, we are dotting, trying to make us a dotting. The man talk about Israel in relation to Iran, and that Israel is 9 times smaller than Iran. We are a dot, trying to make us a dot. And I'm saying it shouldn't be too hard to feed 1.4 million people.
And you see, when you also get into the discussion of agriculture, right, you also have to look at the labor aspect of it and the history of agriculture as we have known it. Because modern day agriculture is very technological.
Yes, this is what I'm saying.
You know,
very technological, but it's healthy too.
Of course. They're not all toting water in pails. You know, there's drones. There are drones wetting plants and feeding chemicals.
Again, you have to have the systems and the thinking, the critical thinking by governance and the state to facilitate that kind of thing. Because a man mightn't want to just go and make that kind of investment and the state not facilitating it.
Correct. So are we getting into the agriculture and this discussion at the right point in the whole makeup? Are we, according to what you've alluded to, are we studying what is best practice and what we can adapt, or are we still asking a man to pull some ox?
No, I mean, clearly we're going past that.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, where's the research? And I always say, when I say where the research, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. Everything is there already. The AI now telling you everything is there already. The investment is what needed. If you're borrowing money, as I said, borrow it for something that makes sense. Borrow it for something that could give you some kind of investment down the road. As a friend was telling me, money in the bank is worth nothing to you. Better you borrow it and invest it. Invest in food. And the things that coming into this country that you shouldn't be buying, that killing your people, make it very expensive. Put tariffs on it. Get brave like Trump.
Yeah, I also am acquainted with someone who got land through the state, but couldn't plant it, couldn't develop it. He couldn't do anything that he was supposed to do because he feared for his life. Because the dynamics of being allotted land within a village and a community who had their own underground subculture of produce. I don't need to say what they were producing. And you come up there now to plant corn. Or you come up there to plant pimento. So there's not what we plant up here, you know. We don't plant pimento up here.
Ronaldo, you're talking about things that, these are simple, these are easy fix. Redirect your resources.
These are easy fix for where there's a will to fix it.
But this is what I'm saying. Again, it starts with the politician, and then the state, and then the banks, right? And then the people like you and I. We have to find a way, as politicians, as the state, to make it easy for that kind of transfer to take place.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you think legislation is needed to do that, then do that.
Yeah.
But don't just talk about it.
Yeah.
Right? It has to be done.
Yeah.
And as a state, as a government, you have to think about that and do it.
Yeah. And agriculture now has advanced in the much more scientific realms, you know, where there's a lot more study required, you know, in terms of the chemicals, the pesticides, the things that you use, the inputs. You know, it is not just putting a tree in the ground, you know, especially when you're talking about feeding people.
Man, listen, let me tell you something. The kind of craziness you see going on in terms of how the way we do things, we are still Stone Age in Trinidad and Tobago. And for a country that was probably the richest in the Caribbean or richest per capita in this hemisphere, we shouldn't even be asking these questions today. We shouldn't be having, this should be a dilemma for us. In other words, this should be something that becomes natural. Listen, one of the problems, we have the wrong idea what education is. Education should be a tool for living. So if you can't think, you will die.
Well, we have evidence education in our own reality by qualification.
Well, I'm sorry for the ones who think I have 4 degrees,
yes.
walking around with 4.
Yeah.
That means nothing to me. Yeah. I want to be able to think when something comes my way. I must be able to think it through.
Solve
the problem and move through to the next level. I ain't standing up to quarrel about he do this and he do that. Listen, let me do it.
Yeah.
It had to get done.
Yeah. And you make an important point there about independent thinking. And getting children from a young age to solve problems. And that is what those systems encourage.
Correct.
They have to solve problems. It doesn't make sense complain.
When you come in to talk about you have this degree and that degree and you can't solve nothing.
Yeah, you don't solve problems. Any problems
you buy a car and you never read the manual.
Yeah.
You don't even understand. Okay, but if you can't read the manual, go on YouTube. I always tell people, you see YouTube, so after God and after God and money, and YouTube is money.
Caution, YouTube also has a lot of misinformation.
No, what I'm saying is...
So you still have to critically analyze.
Exactly. You still have to think it through. Yeah. So if you want to learn how to fix... You want to learn to fix something on your car, you Google that on YouTube, and you'll see about 100 different people showing you. So you know how to just use your spirit or your sense of discernment and figure out which one is the right one.
Yeah, but I'm saying,
by looking at many.
Unfortunately, that leap is not easy. It's not as common as you make it.
So you ain't had to go to New. If I tell you what I do with YouTube, from YouTube, you will be amazed. From just looking at how to build something, how to plumb a pool,
yes,
how to do electricity, how to do something.
Yes, yes.
Right? YouTube teaches you everything.
Yes, the abundance of information is not synonymous with the abundance of learning. Eh?
Well, okay.
So there's a lot of information out there.
So that, ladies and gentlemen, was a little ad for YouTube.
Yes.
Right?
Google. You could Google almost anything, and people get lost every day.
Amazing.
Because if your sense of geography is off, you will read that navigation system.
And that's what we're talking about.
And end up in the back of the hardware.
That's what we're talking about with education and trying
exactly.
to make it. Right? People are functionally illiterate.
Yeah.
So you have all kind of degrees, but you can't think.
Yeah. So, and again, maybe I've always asked myself, and we will get into this when we get further into the pitch analysis. Do we have the education system to reflect the type of economy?
No, we don't.
That we envisage?
We don't. The closest state was when Manning came, and Manning was that 2020, that thing where he was talking about we give scholarships for people in the areas of study for where we want to develop. But it shouldn't be just giving you a scholarship. You need to think through a system so that you can take that person from where they are to thinking for themselves and developing things to make Trinidad and Tobago a better place.
Yeah, we have...
It's not freeness.
We have stymied a lot of those good ideas because sometimes you hear in defense of the scholarship winners, they get the scholarship, they go abroad, they come back.
No, I wasn't talking about that kind of... I'm talking about gate.
Okay. In that
so
context.
Everybody get gate willy-nilly.
Yeah.
What the hell they do with it?
Yeah. And
just to say you have a degree?
Yes.
You go and study thing, you will never even You know, people walking around with all kind of weird degrees, think they're doing nothing to develop society with. They forget, listen, in the first place, a degree have a shelf life. I don't know if you know that. You are an educated person, you should know that. A degree have a shelf life. If you get a degree in something, with all your critical thinking skills, and you didn't utilize it, in about 5 years, that degree dead to you, you know. It dead. So all the people walking around calling themselves doctor never publish nothing. You doctor nothing.
But we haven't taught that though. We've told children to go to school,
get education, get job.
Not just get education, get 5 subjects, and then go and get more subject on that subject, and then get more subject on that subject.
You understand?
Yeah, and that is what we call education, especially in a formal sense. But again, to what end? To what end?
What you're doing for it? We have so many people walking around with degrees in Trinidad and Tobago. We shouldn't be in the state we are in. We shouldn't have crime in the way we have crime. People killing people for all kind of senseless thing in Trinidad and Tobago now.
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
we shouldn't have things like management problem.
We shouldn't have management problems.
We teach that, not so?
Yeah.
We should be qualified in that all over the place,
correct.
you know?
We shouldn't have them kind of problems. And the thing is, it's just sad. The reason why those things happen is because of lack of planning, comprehensive planning. China was planning to take over the world since after the age of humiliation, which was sometime in the 60s.
Yeah.
And today, it have nothing. I don't care what America say, because there's fooling with all kind of thing on YouTube, all kind of thing, but they're the best. They're not the best. They're the best in nothing.
Well, again, our own match and our own pitch analysis will see us asking ourselves very difficult questions. And we have to be honest about the answers. What do we want from this education system? Do we want a disciplined, well-behaved, passive workforce that will work for somebody?
But that's what it was originally designed to do.
Then.
It was designed as a form of containment. Listen, after slavery, the best thing after sliced bread, after slavery, and they would say, some of them, when you read some books and you hear about William Wilberforce and all those guys in England who felt humanitarian and slavery was a bad thing, and that kind of slavery didn't end for that. Slavery ended because it wasn't profitable again.
Right.
Right? And when it wasn't profitable again, the best thing after sliced bread was education. Because we could get them to compete against themselves, get them something we call our education, and have them work for us, compete and fight to work for us.
And here we make education synonymous with schooling, eh?
Right.
Which is, we know, when you break it down, it's not the same thing. Because plenty fools went to school.
Correct.
Correct? And they passed too.
And they passed too.
Yeah.
This is what I'm saying. I went to school with some of them.
Yeah, you understand? So we have that misnomer about education and formal education and what it does and what it doesn't do. But I am not too sure what are our objectives. You know, do we just want to produce a workforce for some business person? Really and truly.
But that is what it's about. That is what education is supposed to be about, Ronaldo.
You get good, they tell you when you're younger, get a good government work.
Get a good government work.
Yeah.
Go and go to school and learn and go and be, well, in the days of you talking about it, you didn't even have to go to school to be a policeman. Yeah. You just had to be big, stupid looking, and you know, and you get a police work. You're big and strong and looking like a bully. And to some extent, that pervades still to some extent. You know, when you look at some of the things police officers do, it's like a newfound power, you know. And that to me is unfortunate. Because if we had if we had a police service or different tiers of protective services that was minded strictly to crime solving and crime fighting, we wouldn't have
mental capacity.
More mental capacity.
And
we wouldn't have the problem we have now. People afraid to say that. Just be afraid to say that. I will not be afraid to say that. We will not have the problems we have now. We created our own monster. And now it reached straight up.
Yeah. So sometimes when we have moral dilemmas about to thief or not to thief, that's very hard for them to discern, you know.
and when we went to university, we learned about Kant, Immanuel Kant, and Aristotle, and means the end, and the greater good, and all that kind of thing. They may even thinking that.
Yes. Yes. But definitely in our pitch analysis today, we have serious questions about education and what we want from it. And I keep asking, what do we want? We hear about digitalization. We just went through COVID.
We just talking things that, but is it working for the people of, are you critically thinking it through and walking it through transactionally to see how it's going to work for the small man on the ground, fix things?
And this is my pet peeve with the union. When you check some of the countries that were able to transition online very smoothly during the COVID period, especially in terms of education and provision of educational services, you realize they were doing that before COVID. It was part of the way they learn, their system of learning. We did a hodgepodge to make sure the children was doing something between certain hours. And after that is finished, we're back to the whiteboard. You can't email work anywhere now.
Well, society have changed to a large extent. Man and woman and male and female. When I was going to school, my mother was home.
Yeah.
So now you have women in the workplace just like men. Yeah. You have all different, a whole different set of challenges. So you can't do that again.
Yeah.
Clearly. You have a lot of single parent mothers now who had to take care of the children, send them to school. Some of them live in, you was giving me the example with teachers who live in South and coming to teach in Port of Spain.
Yes.
A man live in Matlet and coming to work in Port of Spain, and that kind of thing. When he sees his child, when he getting to do what he's supposed to do, this is where the state comes in.
Yeah.
Right? Fix that. So first you need to decentralize. First you need to have a different kind of transportation system, a different kind of transportation network. And we will talk about that maybe when we start analyzing the baton.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
The transportation system. You have buses running empty from Port of Spain to Chaguaramas whole night.
Yes.
But the people who need to come from Matlet, you have no buses running there. You're not fixing the roads.
Yeah.
So it has no motivation to do those things because to you, they don't really matter.
Yeah. And again, the streets.
Yes. Right? So let's take this call. Yeah. Good afternoon, caller.
Yes, good afternoon, sir. I'm hearing loud and clear now. Please allow me to join your conversation again. Yeah, I'm also enjoying all the discussion and it's all on such a high level. And you know, we talk about progress and we're making progress and progress. But you know, long ago, we used to have our own sugar, we used to have our own rice, we had our own cocoa. Now, all I'm thinking is important now, even though today, we're importing coconut water.
Correct.
Where's the progress in that? Now, who are the ones that benefit from all these importations? It's not the small man on the ground that plant the cocoa, that plant the cane. People benefit from that. It's people bring containers of these products and sell it to us ready-made. So, where it is, you say, well, we don't plant anything again. We have to investigate the architect of economic slavery as the Calypsonian. So you know that kind of culture again, you know, is the architect, is by design, we're not planting our own food. So they can bring that and sell with that. All these things is a design. Look, for example, we have the African Bank from Ghana come here to set up to give small man economic growth. You come in a good plan, you're getting money to do your plan. You know the architect economic slavery come and block that.
Yes, correct.
They block that in Jamaica.
Correct.
So I asked myself, boy, what is really going on? I don't understand that. How will they go block that and being so dumbed down as a population that we're not even able to rise up and say, where that one, there's only a few people like Dr. David Mohammed are here talking about the injustice of such action. So, well, I mean, you're right about education. We need to educate our children what's the real thing. And that's the thing, again, I invite all the fellows to come and visit community center in Laventille. We try our best to educate our children. We're not just standing by and complaining about what's going on. We're trying to educate our children in things that we're doing in school. So every Saturday morning is the day from about 10 o'clock. So anytime I'm in the area and I have time, just right opposite St. Laventille School, come across and grace us with your presence, and you know, help us in our endeavor to spread knowledge of truth, how we can be self-sufficient. The kind of thing that Ibrahim Traore doing now in Burkina Faso. So that's what we need to propagate in this country. And I would strongly advise Mother Canada to pay attention to this history. Watch what's going on there. And let us be in road and water place. So we have to see about our children. We have to see about the children of our future. We have to teach them how to feed themselves. Because just every time we learn and continue to come in, my father and them tell me about World War I and World War II and things. Or the kids didn't get bread in the shop. So going to do better than we, they still have cassava and things planted. They could have used to still have to still have sugar cane. We don't have anything again. What are we going to do, boys? Eat one another.
Thank you, Kola. Thank you, Kola.
I continue listening.
Thank you. And you made a lot of sense there. But, you know, Ronaldo, we also have to think that we are not an island by ourselves. We are not, how I want to put it, we aren't the only person who could produce things. And I remember going to school, learning about in economics, learning about the comparative advantage of trade, right? Yeah, comparative advantage of trade. And therefore, if you could produce something, and which is why I see Donald Trump policies as really dumb policies with big people who not think, and it has something else behind that, that tariff policies that they're not telling you, right? And it is a plan to not just destabilize the world, but to become or to remain the hegemon of the world. The thing is, so we just have a few minutes again, listeners. So we go into some pay some bills.
And so do we. Let's go pay some bills on the street 919 FM.
Don't miss June savings at Furniture Plus. Get up to 50% off shop appliances, furniture, electronics, mattresses, and more. Buy now, pay later with affordable higher purchase plans. Plus, earn Caribbean Airlines. Travel miles with your purchase. Visit any Furniture Plus stores or shop online.
If you really want to see change in this party, over. We are not an ordinary party, but rather we are a rally. Be voting no. For I hope my say. We voting no. For I hope my say. We voting no. On June 22nd, the people shall be on the only real change for the PNM. We voting for. Everybody say, yeah. June 22nd.
Planning your Tobago getaway? Choose the highest Google-rated car rental company on the island, O'Neill Auto Rentals Tobago. Located just minutes from the A&R Robinson International Airport, at O'Neill, we pride ourselves on being the most tech-savvy car rental company in Tobago. Our process is 100% digital. No paperwork, no long lines. From easy pickup to seamless returns, renting a car in Tobago has never been simpler. WhatsApp us now at 1-868-361-1042 to book your vehicle. Don't forget to mention promo code RADIO2 to receive a 5% discount on your rental. Send a WhatsApp message to 1-868-361-1042 today. That's 1-868-361-1042. O'Neill Auto Rentals Tobago, the easiest, most reliable car rental experience on the island.
Vehicle availability is subject to change. Driver must be at least 25 years old and have a valid driver's license to book. For more information, visit www.rentalcartobago.com.
The Gap Man Limited specializes in products that cater to all your health needs. The Male Enhancement Package targets the areas of the body that contribute to erectile dysfunction. The Male Enhancement costs $1,400. The Gap pills are priced at 250 pills for $500 and 500 pills for just $900. For the best in eye care, get the super combination of a Super Bright and the Body Healer. To improve the heart's function and circulation, get the Gap pills and Formula C. To get a total body cleanse daily, use the Gap Body Healer and Big C, all for a super low price of $1,300. To order your products from the Gap Man Limited, call 628-4531 for products that cater to all your health needs.
For more info, contact 476-7268.
It's election
June 22nd, PNM internal elections. Vote for the people's champions, the only real change.
Vote for them. Vote for the people's champion. Vote for them. For the only real change. Vote for them. Vote for the people's champion. Vote for them. For the only real change.
June 22nd, PNM internal elections. Vote for the people's champions, the only real change.
Vote for them. Vote for the people's champion. Vote for them. For the only real change.
22nd of June, PNM internal elections. Vote for the people's champions, the only real change.
Welcome to Pizza Hut.
Hi, can I get a medium pepper?
Here you go.
Oh, wow. How did you...
It's Pizza Hut's Hot to Go. So you get taste, quality, and speed all in one go.
And I can get
one medium hot to go for $89 or two medium hot to go for $169 in pepperoni, Hawaiian, and veg, Monday to Friday.
Can you
get your girlfriend to forgive you as fast as our hot to go pizza? No, sir.
Come in and try our Hot to Go specials today at locations nationwide. Pizza Hut. Now that's delivering.
Share the live. Share the live. The Street 919 FM on Facebook and Instagram. Share the live. Iowa George on Instagram. Share the live. Iowa TV and Street TV on YouTube. Share the live. The Street 919 FM.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are back, and we are still in the process of analyzing the pitch. The game is about to start. Before we went off air to pay some bills, we were talking about the state of agriculture and why we need the government and the state need to invest in agriculture. We have just about an hour again, and we want to also invite the listeners to call in and join in the discussion, and the number to call is 342-0081, 466-5391, and 771-1791. You can call us, engage us, and we will assist in analyzing the state of affairs in Trinidad and Tobago. So we were talking about agriculture and why probably massive investments need to be placed in agriculture. In my opinion, agriculture is probably one of the most important areas for government investment, simply because we are staring down the barrel of a gun very soon. I mean, I am not predicting it, I'm not wishing it, but it looks like we are going to be, the world is going to be engulfed in what looks like a serious war, world war. Because if you look at what's going on in the Middle East now, forget Ukraine. Well, don't even forget Ukraine for now, but just look at what's going on in the Middle East. Very soon, China and Russia and the Qatar and all those other countries will jump in the war. I heard Trump said today, just this evening, he left his his G7 meeting in Canada, in the Rockies in Canada, and he told Iran, he warned the people of Iran to get out of Tehran. Now, what that means is that they may be looking to attack, to drop bombs in Iran, to punish Iran for defending themselves. Now, that, to a large extent, will create serious crisis in the Middle East, because what Iran will do, Iran more than likely will start bombing American bases in the Middle East, and that will create more problems. The Strait of Hormuz will now become impassable because ships will be in danger. That is right on the end of Iran, and that will cause problems in Trinidad and Tobago. 25% of the world trade shipping passes through that area, and that is of great concern, and it should be of great concern to you, because when the elephants fight out there, what happens is that we are trampled. What you have to say about that, Ronaldo?
Well, definitely we do understand that there are external threats to this pitch and to this match.
Mm-hmm.
Good, one caller said just talked about the rain. There are things that affect the game on the day that are sometimes outside of the control of the players.
Yes.
And in planning your match, you know, so even let's take it for in terms of economics. In dealing with your own economy, you have to look at the world and the global economy.
Correct.
What are the trends in the world? What is happening? What is moving? What is not moving? Which goods and services are a high priority? You know, everybody's going high into tech. You know, are we going that direction? What services can we sell the world?
Mm-hmm.
And what services are the world not willing to pay for anymore?
Right.
You know, what is becoming not maybe totally obsolete, but lower priced.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's much more higher price on innovation and invention and doing things with AI, with the use of technology. I mean, if your business is not technologically driven, you know, you may not survive.
Okay.
So there are always external factors that affect the pitch, and we know that this captain would be all too wise in considering what is going on in the global economy.
Yes.
Trinidad is okay.
Look at the alignment of Russia. Look what happened with us failing in the Dragon Gas deal. Russia has now capitalized on that.
Yeah.
And that's right here. We should want to be Venezuela's enemy right now.
And all these things impact on your ability to deliver. Remember, you have people depending on you. Remember, you have families who have members who have dreams, which are based on expectations, which are based on things that you said. You know, I mean, it's nice to tell them watch CNN and watch BBC. They may only watch TV6 News. Good. But you also have to pay attention to those things. Those things impact the game. Those things impact the game. COVID impacted the game for the other team.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't plan for it. Mm-hmm. Nobody knew it was coming. But it was a game changer in many ways.
In many ways.
In many ways. So when doing...
Although I would say we didn't capitalize on much of it, because it showed us how to run our businesses with less expenditure also.
Yeah. Yeah.
People could work from home and do the same thing, so you have less need to rent buildings and, you know, that kind of thing.
Well, to get deep into that, you would have to appreciate that to do some of that, you have to change your traditional thinking about labor.
Exactly.
Good.
And I'm glad you're morphed into that area.
Because we are still by and large managing people.
Exactly.
And the world has gone past that.
Yes.
They ain't the task.
Which is more reason why we should be looking to make some severe adjustments to the labor relations and employment relations and you know, that kind of thing. We need to understand how that impacts on productivity every day.
The discussion in the world stage is a different type of work week. You know, not everybody going to work for the same time and coming home at the same time and going to bed at the same time. Who does that? Who does that in China? Who does that in London? Who does that in Singapore? Who does that in America? Labor is a continuous cycle. But you know, so the drivers of labor, and here therefore you'd have to look at some of the employers and some of the big business will also have to adjust their traditional thinking on how labor is managed. Because if you're still managing it by task, by counting people in the yard, by, you know, you will always be stuck in a certain paradigm with certain mechanisms, and you will not be able to adjust. So in going forward, when we analyze this pitch and we look at, so we've gone into more the economics of it now, we really have to be careful of what we advertise.
Yes. We see the storm that is on the horizon.
Correct.
We see the clouds already.
Correct.
We see the effects of it. It start drizzling already.
Correct.
Right? The oil prices of oil going up. You have all kind of issues going on happen just now again. The price of steel, the price of everything going on go up again.
And workers can ill afford to say that is not your business.
And you can't say that is not your business.
Because if it affects the businessman,
it's going to affect you.
It affects labor.
Exactly.
If it affects the companies, if it affects the bottom line of those who invest and those who provide the means by which you are remunerated for your labor, it affects you. You know, so sometimes even in the labor equation, we have a proliferation of one side. And that's unfortunate.
Yeah,
that's really unfortunate, because a businessman still has to survive.
Yeah.
He still has his own family.
He still has to ensure that the business continue running, because he will
Correct.
have severe challenges should he not be able to pay simple things like salaries or pay creditors.
Correct.
You know, that kind of thing.
And his inability to survive in this global economy and in the local economy will affect families.
Exactly.
Will affect many, many, many people. So labor, in their quest to get what they want, they also have to be very, very, very careful that you don't oversubscribe, that you don't hike up your demands so much that you cost yourself out of the equation because you want everything. And a lot of that comes, to be honest, from a sense of inertia, of not knowing things. You don't know when you're getting promoted. You don't know when you're getting an increase. You know, so much is dubious about how you go to work. You have to wonder if this and that, and if we're going on the street and we're going to march and all these different things, and it's a lot. It's a lot, and as the caller said, you'll get a lot of anxiety from the people in the stands. Something might fly on the field. You never know, because it's so precarious, you know. But again, we appeal for caution, because as we said earlier, the captain has to be very careful with this call. Very, very, very careful. Very, very, very careful. Runs on the board. They got 10 years.
You don't know when to play.
Correct.
And you don't know when to swing.
Correct. They got 10 years. You might get 10.
And you might get 5.
You might get 5.
Because rain might fall.
Rain might fall.
And you had the pavilion running on the field.
Correct.
Because you might make a wrong decision.
A wrong decision, a bad decision.
Yeah, so we had to be really, really, really careful.
And that's something we have to constantly drum into people every day. You know, people who were disenfranchised, people who, for one reason or the other, did not realize certain goals and objectives based on promises. You know, politics could be very, 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 very hurtful. It has the power if you cannot discern it properly.
But the thing is, I truly believe in the statement, and I have been saying it all the time. Politics is the means by which everything is necessary.
Yes.
So the first thing you have to understand, that you are part of the politics.
Yes.
Right? Voting have consequences. voting have consequences, whether you vote for the yellow party or you vote for the red party.
Yes.
Right? Voting have consequences. Yeah. You had to think it through because everybody come with their own ideology. Although they converge at some point in time, because the reason why they converge is because of the natural bureaucracy that governs everything.
Yeah.
So they will converge at some time. But you have to understand different parties will have their own philosophies, how they plan to govern, and they will govern like that.
And Maslow taught us everybody have needs.
Yeah. Everybody have needs.
That's common.
And you're not going to move to the next need if you satisfy the one before.
Correct.
The one in the bottom.
Correct.
So we have to understand, and observing the pitch today,
yes,
we have to understand what are our limitations.
Correct.
Right?
What cannot work?
What can work? How hard we could swing?
Correct.
What we could swing at?
Correct.
What we can't swing at?
You have to know, as you say, when to leave the ball alone.
Yeah, and the captain had to tell her team.
Correct.
What to leave.
Correct. What to leave alone.
What to don't say nothing.
You can get caught out in the edge. The bowler find an edge.
Right, yeah.
Because your bat hanging outside.
Because the infield is wet.
Correct. Correct.
The ground soft.
Correct.
You don't understand all that all the way. That's some men coming at you. They're coming to bowl some dread googlies.
Correct.
You have some Ambrose and some Courtney Walsh.
Correct. Out there.
Outside there.
Correct.
And then don't
have some Sunil. Have some Sunil out there.
Yeah, don't come and play Gavaskar neither.
Yeah, and swing.
Yeah, and swing.
Yeah. This innings really has to be planned.
Yeah.
For it to be successful.
Exactly.
It has to be planned. I am not too sure that might be popular, because the audience, the people in the pavilion, have an appetite, just like the Romans, for action.
Yeah.
They want to see you swing at everything.
Yeah, no, it have people right now.
Yeah.
It have people right now who things hard for them, you know.
Yes, that's the reality.
The waiting, the holding their breath still.
Yes.
Because they went and they vote for the yellow party or whatever, and they're holding their breath and they're saying, but they ain't gonna hold it for long again. Right?
Yes.
Because certain things were said.
Yes.
Right? And the problem with that is that, you know, I have a different philosophy.
Right.
In electioneering campaigning, but it is not designed to be like that.
Yes.
Right? People will naturally, politicians will naturally say things that maybe they will rethink after.
Yes.
Right? Both sides, both PNM and UNC.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I am very hopeful, though, that this captain, who in the wicket,
yes,
she will bat a certain kind of, she will play a certain kind of game.
Yes.
Right? So she gave all, or as much as possible. She have a 13th man.
Yes.
So in case something happens.
And the 13th man is important.
Right? And
the 12th man, 13th man,
right,
is important in
and
this game.
I think she looking to see who will bat and who could bat and who can't bat.
Correct. She'll have to make some serious calls.
She has to make some decisions, but you need to the pavilion need to understand that runs are going on run them just so. It's not that easy, and unless you really assess the situation and know where you are and how you're going to do it.
Well, the first thing we have to tell the public, we have to be honest, that this is not a T20.
Yeah.
This is a test match.
This is a test match.
This is a test match.
And this test match could go for very long because the runs could be slow.
Correct.
And if you stay in the wicket and you play,
correct,
you could
this
stay
is
for a long
surely
time.
not a T20.
Yeah,
nothing about these conditions tell us that
this could be a T20.
No.
Unless you want to just hold on.
No. No, and that doesn't make any sense.
Like Australia in 19... West Indian Australia in 19... That was in around something in the 80s.
Yeah.
A particular game. But the thing is, you have to understand, you can't just go in and play brave, and because you have You had runs previously.
You could talk plenty when you wasn't batting. When you weren't batting, you could find how he should have played, and the man should have hit that, and this one should have do that, and he should have swing. You could see that. You was in the pavilion. Now you in the crease. Now you in the crease, and you realize the ball darting. It dropping on a certain spot, and then it coming for your forehead. You understand? You take one in your stomach. Good. It's nice to talk from in the pavilion. Plenty of us in life, and that's in life too. We could talk from the pavilion. We know what the Prime Minister should have do. We know what this one should have do. We know what the Minister should have do. We know what the police should have do. We know what everybody should have do. It's easy. That's easy. The teacher should have do, and the business. And Sam, we have an opinion about everything. But you see, when you're in the crease, and the decision is yours to make, you have to go for broke.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. So we are saying that, you know, as the team done any wicket, good. The team done any wicket. We don't know the fielding team come out and they getting their own things organized, because don't forget the fielding team, you know, they're going through a process. They have the internal issues. They have the post-mortem going on. I did tell you. Plenty of that coming out. We're getting the mic on from the dressing room. We're hearing some bad word passing in the dressing room. Who calling who shupidi? You understand? Good. It's not for us. That conversation is really not for us. But the mic is on in the dressing room very loud.
Yeah, we're hearing it.
And we're hearing it. We hear the team discussion.
We hear the implosion.
Yeah. We hear the energy too. To be honest, not all of it is bad. I hear people talk about washing dirty linen in public. I don't know how much of that pertains.
I think Penelope Beckers, to a large extent, we don't talk so much again, but maybe because I'm my choice. But I saw something in the newspapers a few days ago where she said that the PNM lost because members fell down on the ground. Fell down. And yes, but you weren't saying that before. You thought there was who in the right senses that could think, critically think, was thinking PNM going to win the elections? Who? I feel you was thinking they was going to win.
Well, the members definitely. Which member says, who has the temerity to say that? Who has the audacity?
But a blind man could have seen they couldn't win that. A blind man could have seen they couldn't make that runs.
You could see and hush.
Eh?
You could see and hush.
Right? So when they
have voices,
so
no.
When they get a captain and Kobo Sweat, they make him they take a man who wasn't even a vice captain. And they gave him a Kobo Sweat.
Well, to be honest,
they set up that man.
All things being equal.
Let me take this call.
Okay.
Good afternoon, caller.
Good afternoon, Commissioner. I would like to engage your conversation.
Yes, go ahead.
Right. Let's deal with Ms. Penny, our present opposition leader, when she made the speech that a young man was talking about a few days ago. From my observation, she was referring to the PRO, the secretary, the human resource manager, the person who is in charge of the technical communication. To me, these were the people she was referring to. I don't think she was referring to the government or the sitting members of parliament. Because from looking at it, the person who is in charge of, how to put it, just a second, gentlemen. The person who is in charge of how you call this new thing, like the person who put up the thing on YouTube and that kind of, there's a name for that individual.
The social media.
Right, the social media person. From looking at what transpired after the last election, the social media person didn't do a good job.
But she didn't know that before?
Well, she did not. You see, remember when Stuart Young got into office? Everybody saying, oh, he was the Prime Minister for one day. And when he said, I am going to do this, and somebody said, why you didn't do that then? He wasn't in charge then.
Right, so that should tell us something about the structure of the party. I mean, if you had to wait to lose an election protest about something.
Every party. That's why that's why I say they shouldn't wash the dirty linen, and they say the PNM is best at that, not washing the dirty linen in public. So there are certain things we keep. You toe the line. That is normal. The UNC toe the line.
Ad nauseam and death.
Well, you could say that. She didn't see that then. Right?
Once had a lot of critical thinking people in that party who saw that long time spoke about it.
We are not disputing. We are not disputing that.
Was vanquished and was out of the party, right?
Right. So let me explain you something. We have a saying, and up to this day, they still say that PNM is a black party. UNC is a East Indian party.
Nonsense.
And the Prime Minister was trying to prove to them, hey, we ain't going down that road, so we decided to change that metrics. So we decided we were going at a Chinese man. And the Africans in the party, because the UNC didn't get the popular vote. 100,000 people didn't vote, and those 100,000 people, if you look at what he say, that those 100,000 people normally vote for the PNM. And then people who was 10 years old when the UNC was in office didn't know what they did, because they was 5 years old when they get into office, and by the time they come out, they were 10 years old, and then they had to go through the PNM 10 years. And here what was being sung to a 10-year-old. By the time he reached 15, PNM ain't doing nothing for black people. And up comes 2 years of a pandemic where that young man probably didn't even study that in school yet to understand what that means. So then he had to go through a hard time. There are countries still going through 5 years after the pandemic, still under pressure. So we had a section of the population that been singing a song to a particular group of people that we under pressure and we suffering. Today, as Ollie just outlined, they're telling them hold back and wait, Labour in charge, and just now we're waiting for the financial. So Ollie might get 10%. The Prime Minister then tell them, we're going to tighten the belt till 2027. Everybody had a problem. But you know they're tightening the belt more tight now until you hold on. What's the difference?
So, caller, let me ask you here: how do you? I like your analysis. Well, how do you see the pitch now? How do you see things now that the elections is over? There's a side into battle. How do you read the country and what are your views?
Sad, because I saw on Friday the Minister of Health brought a bill to the Parliament for the children's. They call it Children's Life Fund.
Yes.
Where it's a name for surgery. So there's a committee that you, as a parent, who have a sick child, is supposed to write this letter to, and the committee is supposed to give you the approval to send the child to wherever. If the committee refuses you, and you write to the minister has the authority now to grant you that $1.2 million without anybody accounting or the minister accounting to anybody. And here they tell me, you could wait until the media review and then you go see where the minister spending money. So the minister, 5 days, every day, the minister could call a person, or a person could write the minister and say, my son need a heart surgery, my brother. And everybody get $1.2 million. And by the end of the year, we could find out how much, because there is no accountability. The minister has to account. He doesn't have to come back to the parliament to spend that $1.2 million. That is where I am today.
So
you see what's going on in Europe, young men?
Yes.
You see what's happening in Europe with the largest museum in Europe that contains the most people ever visit in Europe closed down over the weekend for 4 hours. You know what is one of the reasons? One of the reasons, besides the condition of the work conditions, is that too many people are visiting the museum. Too many people are visiting. But in Barcelona, this week on there was a protest. Where if you was a tourist in Barcelona, if you look sharp, you get stoned down. They're telling people in Europe, we don't want all you come in here. So I hope this administration look and see what's going on in Europe and bring the Caribbean together where we could invite some of them people who go in there to come down here and we could start to diversify.
Okay, caller. Thanks for that contribution.
Yeah. Good afternoon, caller.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. I just want to ask if anything that man was saying made any sense or added up. I see you was trying to follow him. I alone was trying to follow him, but did anything he say really make any sense or tie into what you all were speaking about? Honestly.
How would you want to comment on that?
It's funny that these people believe that they are critical thinkers But every single time a question is posed, that if you answer honestly, you have to highlight the kinks of the PNM, the flaws of the PNM, and the wrong that they would have done. They're unable to do so immediately. They have on some type of glasses that doesn't permit them to see. Because, I mean, there are so many reasons why the population rejected the PNM. Half of it they know, the other half they don't want to admit. Right?
Correct.
Because all they're talking about the promises that persons who support the coalition this time is looking forward to. What about the promises that the very said former Prime Minister who get the Kobo Sweat was making on the campaign? Did the diverse family receive the money that he promised on the platform yet?
Correct.
The social increased food care where he went on the platform and promised, did only receive that yet? He got a privilege to enter into a place where he could have delivered for the next few months and show how he could have done things different to Dr.
And you know it's amazing they say that, caller, because they renewed so much of contracts on the eve of election. Renewed so many 3-year contracts on the eve of election, but one thing they failed to do is to get the divers the money they said they will get them.
You understand? It's laughable. It's laughable that the last caller could think that they're coming on here to make any sense.
But caller, let me engage you a bit. How do you read this pitch now? You know, now that we're in the second innings. How do you? What are your views of?
Well, let me give you a little peep into my mind. A good question, because I read it clear as day.
Go.
Right, and let me start from when Dr. Rowley would have handed over this leading this nation to Stuart. Right. You did that after not leading by example. Not one place that the people on top enjoy, politicians namely, have they looked at cutting back. Right? So no perk was looked at and say, hey, let us cut back here. We want to increase revenue, so let us take from every citizen collectively, right? And still we funding things like buildings that we're not occupying, right? You hand it over. So Stuart had a time of however many months he could have delivered, but you choose not to. Only blatantly didn't want to give this nation anything because they had a Minister of Finance laughing at the measures he had to take, right, that will never affect him, right, laughing. And on top of that, you presiding over money going where we're not getting value for money. And at every juncture, you had a problem and an issue with public servants receiving more money and had nothing to say when the SRC come with that ridiculous offer for Dr. Rowley, right? PNM had it coming, and it is not so much that the UNC had it together. I know the UNC didn't have to do anything anymore, right? Because you see, it's not no big 500,000, 600,000 people came out and vote for the UNC. The UNC managed to keep their base, and the PNM, right? People just didn't come out and support you all, right? A lot of persons might have went over and voted, but it wasn't no drastic number to say, well, PNM it had a fight in the race. No, only lost long time and lost to the electorate, not to UNC, right? And the fact is, they are in a position where they are trying to still hide what they have to address in order to move forward, which is the type of leadership that we were under was not good enough, was not working, and identify the issues there. Just trying to hide from it will do no good. I am so, how to put it, boy, I'm hoping for the best for Penelope, but you see some of these people around her who already started wasting time in Parliament, namely Mr. Imbert. You have trouble as a leader, ma'am. Trouble.
I want to agree with you. I want to agree with you.
The population will see it, suggest what it is, more politics and not really Trinidad becoming a priority where adult people can sit and have a conversation, and what is beneficial that will be at the forefront, and we hinge on building on that together as government and opposition people who put there to represent every single constituency. One of the things that I am disappointed though, and I feel like the time running, you see these MPs who are becoming ministers, I hope Khadija keep it up because she's making everybody else's job hard, and that is what is required if you're holding these two portfolios, which is a lot. You have to be an MP for your constituency, and minister is for the whole nation of Trinidad and Tobago, and it is two heavy jobs. So I hope
I am agreeing with your caller 100%, and it's something we've been saying. I have been saying in my own personal world all the time in relation to what the PNM understood or didn't understand. And I think they lost the election long before the elections, and they didn't even know.
Long before the election was called.
But,
long before it was called.
We dealing right now also with a new team, and that team also has to be cognizant of the challenges that are out there, the platform that was laid by the other team, and also what the promises that were made to the people. So they now have to be very circumspect in the way they bat on this wicket, because this is a sticky wicket. And, you know, they also can't just come and swing. They have to understand that, yeah, they make some promises, but they have to be very strategic in the way.
Yes, and I want to add to what you're saying. You see, Tobago would have made a serious statement, and long before the election date was called, right, which might welcome a new opportunity for something that the COP represented to emerge once again in this nation if the current leadership really plays the fool. Because I believe piece by piece, many of us really accepting what the reality is, which is we trapped in a sort of ping-pong politics if it's just these two parties, and all 41 members will continue to win, right? Because unless we able to call them out, each one of them, right, whether you're on this side, that side, or the other, then we will not be properly represented. And this is the reason why something end up continuing for so long in the country, because as long as this person on this side is doing it, they have their supporters to come out in defense of it, even if it's something detrimental for the nation, like the excuse used by Mr. Imber trying to justify that between 2010 to 2015, Ms. Prasad Bisesa and them rented buildings that were empty for 41 million. That's not supposed to be an excuse. When all this deal for the 9 years, you're supposed to have treated with it and put something in place, put some measures in place to ensure that it doesn't happen again. And if it does, people are held accountable.
Instead, they renew the contracts for the same buildings for another 3 years just before you leave.
And more buildings too, not just the same buildings. You understand? This is what people in positions continue to do us. So as a nation, we have to really encourage some of the other parties who are emerging the patriotic front to, stay in the race, continue to be vigilant. But right now, the coalition have some grace to work with, because they didn't inherit a party that was run by Patrick Manning, where they had a set of money to dance with. You understand? They inherited something from Dr. Rowley and Stuart Young, where in the Prime Minister's words, they instead leave fumes. Right? Everything was maxed out already. So all they're doing is the same thing TNM would have had to do at this juncture here, which is come back to the parliament and ask for more money.
And that's that is the dilemma. What we need in Trinidad and Tobago right now is not just normal people. We need critical thinking leaders to take us to the next level. There are things they could do. There are places they could go. There are people who will help us. There are countries who will help us for chalk and cheese. Right? You just have to know where they are. We have vast resources in Africa, vast resources in China, vast resources.
They can invite the bank that Dr. Rowley and them run.
The African Exim Bank. Yeah. All those things. Those people want to invest. They want to be a part of their diaspora. They want to do things here.
Implement a lot of ideas also too.
Huh?
I said they could try to implement a lot of Philip Alexander's ideas also too.
That too. Well, yeah. as if Philip Alexander want to implement them ideas after the fact. but anyway, it was nice talking to you.
Yes, gentlemen.
We will continue to examine the pitch.
Yeah. I didn't know how often will they be on?
We will be on every day.
From what time to what time?
From 4 to about 7 on Monday to Thursday, and 4 to 6 on a Friday.
Well, all right.
And it's not just two umpires. There's another one. He just couldn't be here today.
Okay, all right.
Right? So,
all right, brother.
Nice talking to you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, let's talk about the situation with agriculture.
Yeah, well, as we've been discussing, we really have to find out where the kinks are in the system. Why is it that we can't translate acreage and land use into agricultural produce? Is it that we lack the people? That can't really be true.
Let me take this call. I've seen this caller calling for a while. Mr. President.
Yes, my brother. Just listening, Chris Day, give me some good consciousness to hold on, because your brother has some good consciousness in the politics. And the truth is, I asked a question very early, and well, it didn't go too well with me because we didn't start on a good foot, not recognizing how it is. I don't know for either your side or my side. But the question that I asked about the referee inside of the parliament, this is my real viewpoint in Trinidad and Tobago. I've been talking that for the longest while. And as long as much as you bring up that referee situation, and I'm not a big politician, but my position is having a referee in the parliament. Not necessarily a party, but I keep on talking about 12 people inside of the parliament who concentrating on integrity, responsibility, accountability, all the things that...
But you had that in the upper house, though.
The upper house and...
In the Senate? You have independent senators?
You see that same Senate? That same Senate is when they reach in there is government people, and once they reach up inside it, they are dealing with government. Government come like massa. All of them, they have time with we. They have time with the public. What had to happen is the public itself have to form an organization. Take, for instance, like we slaves now have to form an organization of slaves so that we could deal with massa. That's the whole structure of the thing.
So, caller, are you advocating for a wider role in civil society in our politics?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, and that same civil society, putting it in my lay terms.
Yes.
I'm not a big politics, put it in my lay terms. Is the same civil society, slaves, we, all like me, you, all of we who outside here will have some kind of education, may not be the big thing.
Yes.
But an organization what involved in the electorate.
Yes.
Aside from the electorate voting people for parliament, and when they're going there, they're going into institutions that do not care about us, and either way, both parties, when it comes down to it, they don't care about me. Being there, done that.
Yes. So the caller is actually advocating for, just like we are the third umpire, a group of people who are non-partisan in orientation.
Exactly.
And don't belong to parliament because they've been there through a party system.
But what you're hearing also is what you hear.
That's a good idea, caller.
What you hear with the kind of alacrity, the kind of disdain people have developed over the years. Listen, you know what is elections without 50%, more than 50% of the people who could vote not voting?
Yes.
That says something. People are just not satisfied with
but we could be tone deaf. Winning causes that. You know, you first pass the post.
So again, and this is why I was saying earlier on, I couldn't understand how the PNM, deep inside the PNM, they didn't know that I was going to lose the election. They had to be really daft to not know that. Because if you listen to the ground, you listen to what people have been saying. Forget about all your kikes that is on radio and that kind of thing that talking for you. Forget about that. Listen to what the people saying. Listen to what the people need. Listen to what you're doing in the traffic situation. What you're doing with everything. Everything is about taxes. It's about eating your flesh to live.
But to be fair, Stephen, that foot and mouth disease is not akin to the PNM.
Well, we know
that's a political thing. That gas that you get after a while along this journey, and that overconfidence where you take the street for granted and you stop listening, your ears not on the ground anymore, and you're big for your shoes.
Still?
Yeah. We listening to
Yeah, it is something.
You see that point you're drawing there? You see that point you're drawing there? I will tell you how long the PNM lost away. You see, from the time they started put on them heavy set of tax on people, that was long time. I was following that and we used to course on that, and from all that time we didn't recognize that the Dr. Rowley was a abolitionist. Since that time, when they started all the seatbelt business, 1,000 and 5,000, from since that time when it started, we did done, because I was on radio and me and Divikai and thing, we was talking that quite in Divikai time. So we follow that right through down and see he lost his way badly long time. It only play off and game our next 5 years because of people didn't want the UNC in there. And because of that, he get next 5 years, but this was the worst of him. He mash up the PNM right now.
So
at least what we're saying is that it will have people like you both have also go to come and tell me, but you raised just so time amount and we didn't riot yet, and all of them are those to go in them position there. You understand? But if the people of the shell saying that they are PNM as black people really could have raised up and see themselves as black people, or still see themselves as black people, and build up that keeping out the masses and them out of the party, it may do good. But as long as the masses up there, that organization in this wrong may stay right where it is in opposition.
So caller, let me bring it home with you before we take another call. How do you read the pitch now? How do you see Trinidad and Tobago this innings now?
I see in the pitch in this way, that the people who encourage PNM to come out, as plenty of us out here, will try to work hard with the UNC, oppose the UNC very much as we best could pose them and keep them in our condition than the last 5 years that they had. And that's the only way I see it. Otherwise, if they don't want to go in the direction of the people, because the people encourage their day by not voting, they are not telling you the truth. I know plenty of people on the side who that thing that didn't do too well. You understand? So they got a chance by the ebb. Then nobody else vote them in, and they get voting because we naturally didn't want to see PNM inside of it right now.
So let's take another call, caller.
Okay, you can go clear because I know what I'm saying, and that's the point. We will help you and see what that to be.
You're correct. Good afternoon, caller.
If he is correct, and the UNC didn't get popular votes, therefore, they're just hanging in there with the intention that, or they believe that the citizens, because if you look at the majority, they don't have the majority of the 75% of the population or 60% of the population didn't vote for them. So they get in based on their supporters and a couple of young people who they were, because I'm trying to figure out what all they say. The PNM inherited a recession. First thing first. This administration, all the talking, the governor of the central bank, although they want to investigate the central bank to find out what is not telling them that they have money for 3 days, or when you look at the figures, we are not in a recession. So they are in a far better position inheriting than what the PNM inherited from them. First thing.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, tell us how.
Because I just tell you, you listen to what I said? The governor of the central bank, the governor of the central bank said to us that we had 3/4 of negative growth. You know what that means?
Recession.
Right. That means if I come and I mean 3/4 of negative growth, I inherited a recession.
So what do you see meant when they came in?
Not a recession. They ain't mean 3/4 of negative growth. Otherwise, it's short term with that. So, the first thing the PNM did, because they promised public servants 15% before they leave, didn't pay them the 15%. The PNM went, raised the debt ceiling and borrowed money, one of the first things, and pay public servants their 15%. We inherited a budget at 63 billion after Mr. Manning was spending 43 billion. So in their 5 years, 3 months and 14 days, they spent 20 billion. Plus,
The 16 billion that was in NGC, and the 13 billion that was there. They spent all. They even took a loan on the green fund that they couldn't touch. So it's two different things, my brother.
Okay, so thank you, caller. We want to bring one of our most hard-hitting umpires on the field. He just be square leg sometimes he managing the camera. That is Selvon Mitchell.
Afternoon, Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah. Let's take this call one time. Yeah. Oh shucks, sorry, we lost your caller, so you can call back. But what we were talking about, what we doing?
Listen to the program coming from Sales in Siparia, you know. Yeah, listen to the program. Excellent.
We've been examining
the pitch.
The pitch.
Yes.
Because the caller is calling back. Let's take this call. Good afternoon, caller.
Hey, good night to you, brothers. I just calling to thank Mr. IWER George for these two programs from 12 to 7. We have going on now. I just call him to thank him for these two programs. Well done, my brothers. Have a good day.
He's listening. He's listening. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've been examining. We are the umpires, and we have been examining the pitch because a new team going into bat, and it has some runs on the board. So we are examining the state of play, the state of pitch. We look at the outfield, we look at the geopolitics, what's happening that will affect plenty runs. We're looking now at the infield, we're looking at everything. That will give us an idea as to how the other team should bat. The new team. What's your take?
My take, you know, I started the conversation last night relative to the sticky wicket. And the moisture is on the field right now.
Right.
What we have to focus on right now is see what is happening in the Middle East. I do trade, and I was mentioning this morning, shipping price already went up by 35%, you know. We in an economy here that almost 90% of what we consume we import.
Yes, that's what we were just thinking just now.
63 years or so of an economy with oil and gas, and next time I bring the data of how much billions of dollars are spent in this economy during that time, we're still not self-sufficient.
We're still not self-sufficient.
I hear you talk about education, and I want to talk about Trinidad over 200,000 tertiary level persons.
I'm telling you, the most per capita with masters too.
This is it. We are in a dire strait, so it tells me somehow.
Let's take this call. Let's take this call. Good night. I'm caller.
No, I can see you. That will give us an idea as to how the other things.
Turn on your radio, sir. Turn on your radio.
Good afternoon, good afternoon, the umpires.
Yes.
You see that last caller they called Bartaria? You were trying to tap all that. I call it intelligent black man.
No, you got the umpires.
Lost election.
You can't have the umpires. You can't have the umpires.
Yeah, I that young man and listen to that man since on the radio, but that man can defend wickedness and unjust by Bacteria. All that lost election, you know. Jump on a boat and go back home now, boy.
That kind of tobacco real hard. Understand?
It is what it is.
Yeah, boy.
But what you think?
You come together and work with the government and see if we get betterment for the church to come now, man.
Right.
The last 9 years, PNM in power, and the people can see it. If you see me, one that can see how the PNM treat me. You know when they must get, listen, brothers, you know when they must get conscious? You know, doctor, they do all kind of things to the PNM. You know, plenty of them, they like it. Stuart wants to delete around the party, you know. You know when the lost election, you know all of them behind penny backers now.
When she should have been there.
When also go down there and bust up, when also go down there and bust up Rowland, bust up Stuart.
Okay,
they are not a happy bunch.
We will take another call. Thank you. Yeah.
So this government in an extremely sticky wicket is strategy that will turn around this economy. It's not politicking. I'm looking at the Parliament channel and we had to spend more time on strategy instead of studying what P&M did and who did.
We have a team. We said that.
We say that
runs on the board.
The party already
Strategy,
won.
thinking.
We have to link strategy and how we could turn around this economy in the fastest. Watch now. The innings are coming down, you know.
Yeah.
5 years.
Without men waiting to bowl out,
yeah,
clean
little
bowl
amount
out.
of ball and the wicked wet.
Yes.
You understand?
So you had to, it takes critical thinking at this stage.
Yep.
It's a different kind of thinking.
I'm saying, and this is what I'm working on right now. I'm saying how we position, you all talk about it earlier, how we position ambassador and the roles of ambassadors.
Yes.
That we put outside, there's no longer no scissor sales quote men, you know.
Correct.
There's ambassador who focusing on trade and selling the country to a large extent and what we had to offer.
And they should be focusing on Africa and China and them places
of
now.
Course. Of course.
Right? Oh, so we have an ad coming up.
2 minutes.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, we just have a few minutes. These programs have a tendency of going really good when it's coming to the close. But we are on every evening from 4 o'clock. So I am sure we have a lot to share. We have a lot of incited discussions to bring. And at this point in time, I'll just try to close the program off. So I will turn you on to my other friend, consultant, Ronaldo Rolox, who will give his closing remarks.
Well, Trinidad and Tobago, the Third Empire, is here. We promise to analyze and give good review, engage in discussion, and we want you, the 12th man, to help us with some of the decisions we make. Give us information, give us your views, you know, and let's figure out this thing as Selvon just said, you know, it's strategy time. Old talk time done. Rum time finished. Back to work.
Survival.
Yep.
Selvon.
Yeah. So we'll basically be looking at how we look at how the bowling is done on a daily basis, how the batting is done, the condition of the weather condition, and how we should play the inning to win. That's what we're about. Looking at it from all angles and coming up with the best delivery to win at the end of the day. This is what the Third Empire is about. Best decision.
Yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, we had a wonderful program. This was, we debuted the day, the Third Empire. It's Stephen Matheson, employment law and human resource management consultant. We also have another consultant in employment law, Ronaldo Rolox, who is also a school teacher, by the way. And then we have a management strategist, who is Mr. Selvon Mitchell. Thank you for listening, and goodbye until tomorrow.
A lovely day for cricket, blue skies and gentle breeze. The Indians are waiting now to play the West Indies. A signal from the umpire, the match is going to start. The cricketer